Today's video is brought to you in part by Unicorn Overlord, available March 8th. Best Games 2023. As always, not necessarily games that came out in 2023, just games I played for the first time in 2023. This year, I played some good games, and I played some real good games. Okay, jokes aside, 2023 was supposedly the greatest year for gaming releases, and also the worst year for game developers, with a whole lot of quality releases coming out this year, and also Starfield. However, for me personally, most of them I'm like, yeah, these look fine, but I don't need to play them at launch. I'm gonna wait for a price drop. So instead, the plan was to spend this year catching up on my backlog of Switch games. So I made a list of games to play this year and got through like 3 of them. And that's okay. You wanna know why? How to tackle your gaming backlog. Just turn the game on! Just turn the fucking game on! Game and play just turn the goddamn game on! Just turn the stupid ass game on! Just turn the stupid ass game on, you big dumb stupid ass! I already have the games. They ain't going anywhere. I'll get around to them when I get around to them. These games will be just as good 5, 10, 20 years from now. So of course, halfway through this year of working through my list of old hotness, I also bought a PlayStation 5. And maybe a few too many games for it. Just a few too many games. Just 1 or 2 more games than I should have. It's fine, they're all on sale. Just only a few games. I started a lot of them, but I've only finished a handful of them, so most of them will be on next year's list. If they're good enough, these piece of shit games. Speed round. I finally played Sonic Mania this year, and I learned 2 things. 1, where every gaming YouTuber gets their background music from, and 2, I don't think I like 2D platformers anymore. Monster Hunter Now, the piece of shit Monster Hunter mobile phone game made by the Pokemon Go people. I had planned on quitting this game after I made my quick review on it back in September, but over 60 people used my referral code to sign up, and I didn't want to waste the in-game resources to get for this pyramid scheme, so I kept playing, still only while walking the dog. And it turns out, if you have a bunch of the paid resources for free, the game actually ain't that bad. In December, they added dual blades, which is pretty cool. They even got the Levi Ackerman move in the game. But they added temporary monsters like Black Diablos, where all it does is run from one side of the map to the other and waste your already too short time limit. And the game is still super grindy, where despite playing it every day, you'll go weeks and months between upgrading your stuff at all because the drop rates are so fucking pitiful. It's the game that had me out loud say, man, fuck this game, while outside giving me weird looks from my neighbors. And you gotta go through a long ass quest just to fight one Zinogre, and when you finally fight it, they don't even play the Zinogre theme song. I really cannot recommend this game. But if you do want to try it out, use my referral code on screen to get a couple of bonus items. I started Disco Elysium, and I was really liking it. As someone who plays an unfortunate number of JRPGs, it's nice to once in a while play a game with good dialogue. However, the Switch version runs like absolute ass, which is strange considering it's a game where all you do is walk around and talk to people. And at one point the game froze and I lost a lot of progress, so I ended up picking up the PS4 version for like $10. So next time, baby. And yes, no, I still have not played Metroid Dread. But also, I have, because when you stop to think about it, every Metroidvania is kind of the same game. Anyways, number 1 this year is gonna be Zelda, just getting that out of the way. Chess, business, cheating at chess, checkers. All these ventures require one thing. What's that? Strategy. And you can build up your strategy brain muscles with today's sponsor, Unicorn Overlord. I'm sorry, what was that third one? When I heard that the studio Vanillaware, who puts out bangers like Odin Sphere, bangers like 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, was making a tactical fantasy RPG, as something of a strategy expert myself, I was already very interested in this game. I mean, check out that signature art style. Ain't nobody do it like them. And because Game recognized Game, they reached out to me and were like, hey Spaceman, we got this tactics game coming out that's inspired by 16 and 32-bit strategy games. Can you give us a shout out? And I'm all like, oh, you mean the game where you cultivate a grand army with over 60 unique characters, from humans to elves to massive beasts to heavenly angels, slotting all your units in different classes and promotions with different abilities? And they were all like, yeah, you know, the game with overworld exploration where you battle across the continent with these highly stylized battle animations with a 40 to 50 hour long campaign. And I was all like, 40 to 50 hours? Is that the cooking in the game? Because that sounds pretty beefy. Of course I'll give y'all a shout out. Unicorn Overlord launches March 8th on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 digitally, and Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. And there's a free demo available now, right now, where you can try out the game for yourself and transfer your demo save file over to the full game. If you're into strategy RPGs, I think it'd be quite a good strategy to use the link in the description to check this game out. And thanks again to Atlas for sponsoring today's video. Now let's return to talking about some of last year's games. However, dishonorable mention, Pokemon Violet. You ever buy a game used and on sale and still feel ripped off? I played this game in January of 2023 and it's the fucking Europe version, so the spine looks out of place. Pokemon Violet is not the worst game I've ever played, but when adjusting for amount of development money and resources available, and length and previous prestige of the series, this is quite possibly the worst video game I've ever played. And look, I don't want to beat this dead horse some more. Wait a minute, yes I do. Use Max Revive on Ponyta. It deserves worse. This game is a fucking scam. People assured me, performance issues aside, the game is great. The whole game is performance issues. From start to finish was performance issues. The opening cutscene was lagging. The fucking credits, white text on a black background and a fucking Ed Sheeran plays is lagging. If you ignore what the game is great. It's one thing if a game like Spider-Man 2, where it looks and plays great 99% of the time, but then every now and again you get some weird visual bug. That is not what Pokemon Violet is. This game chugs at nearly single-digit frame rates and then occasionally it poops itself and explodes. The camera is constantly clipping through the floor. I had the wrong music start playing during the final boss. My Mango Fury clipped into the floor during auto battle. Oh yeah, they also added auto battle so you don't have to play this shitty ass game as much. The only fun I had was yelling kill, kill, kill at the screen and skeeting out my Pokemon for free levels, because nothing has been done to speed up these slow ass turn-based battles in over 20 years. At an extremely high competitive level, Pokemon is one of the most interesting and deep battle systems in all of gaming. But on a casual play through the story level, Pokemon has one of the worst battle systems ever implemented. And I am a turn-based combat enjoyer, but so many other people hate turn-based combat because they've only played Pokemon and assume every turn-based RPG is like this. Wow! Whoa! Whoa! The game world looks atrocious. Every frame a dumpster. How you gonna have an extremely ugly game and it runs like shit? Pick a struggle. The Elite Four battles take place in an empty room. This is Game Freak's like fourth game that they've developed for this console and it keeps getting worse and now better? The new gimmick, terrestrialization, is really cool from a high-level competitive battling perspective, but from a casual playing the game perspective, it's completely useless and wasted. There's only one single trainer in the whole game who utilizes it well, being Iono, the fucking streamer boss, who changes her levitating ghost type into electric type so it effectively has zero weaknesses. That's really cool. Meanwhile, you've got the normal type gym leader Larry, whose Ace Staraptor would normally take neutral damage to fighting types, normal types only weakness, but it terrestrializes into pure normal type so your Minecraft guy can spam hammer arm a third time and instantly win. The open world is very poorly designed. You can do the gyms in any order, and by that I mean there is an order, but the game does not tell you the order, and the levels will not scale to how many badges you have. At the start of the game, they're like, you can go left or you can go right. I went right, and apparently that was wrong. The game actually played like a competently designed game, and I actually had to use a couple potions in clearing out the right side of the map. Then I went to the left side of the map with my level 30 plus team and everyone was level 10, and the rest of the game was even baby brain easier than it normally is. Pokemon Generations 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are some of my most played video games ever. Yes, sometimes tastes change over time. Pokemon is intended for all audiences, but more focused on younger ones. But them kids deserve better than this, man. There's essentially zero post-game outside of buying DLC that's nearly the cost of the full game, and I usually do not care about post-games, except in Pokemon, that's where any semblance of challenge is. If you like Pokemon more than you like good video games, you might enjoy this. But if you do not like getting scammed, this ain't it. I don't like doing numerical scores, and I would give it a 0 out of 10, but I'll settle for a 1 out of 10 because it has a little pink guy with a big hammer. Gotta be one of my favorite genders. Man, this game sucks. I'm switching to Pal World. Anyways, here's a bunch of games that I've played in 2023 that are of better quality than the game brought to you by the most profitable media franchise in human history. Number 14, Kingdom 80s. It's an indie 2D base builder type game where you hire children to fight for you. I was already commissioned to do a video on it, but I legit did enjoy it, especially its cool pixel graphics and the vaporwave style soundtrack. For rating, I give it a child labor laws are important. Until a 9-year-old kills me in Splatoon. Then I'm on team, alright, get back to the coal mine, little Johnny. Number 13, The Red Lantern, another indie game. It's a husky simulator, so legally I had to play it. It's like a sled dog survival roguelite where you're a city girl in a country world, but not yeehaw country, but snow country, Alaska. The dogs in this game behave like dogs. They got a dog with heterophobia eyes, just like Captain. And the most fun part is making camp and petting some of the dogs. For a rating, I give it a out of 10. Number 12, Railbound, another indie game. It's a puzzle game where you place train tracks and get the trains to hook up. I originally got it for my award-winning Trains in Video Games video, but I ended up playing it just for fun because of the cozy environment brought on by this pleasant art style. This is the type of game where you lay on your couch underneath a big blanket and eat some s'mores and manage some trains. The first chunk of worlds are pretty easy, and the game gradually introduces more and more train mechanics to add to the complexity, like a specific order for the cars, and tunnels, and stations with passengers, and switches. Oh my god, I hate the switches. By the end of the game, the last few worlds are very difficult, and they only have one solution, so if you're slightly off, like you got a few of the train cars in the wrong order, it's not like the actual solution is pretty close. You might as well delete everything and restart. The end levels are so complicated, I don't even have a strategy, I just try everything. The game is pretty fun, but it gets pretty stressful when each level takes half an hour towards the end. For a rating, I give it a, we really gotta improve our national infrastructure. It really should not look like this. Number 11, Fire Emblem Engage. I already made an hour-long review on this game, so for now, I'll say this. The animation and the strategy gameplay, hell yeah, that was gas. But the story and character dialogue, oh my god, that was ass. So ultimately, I'll give it a pass. But at least there's fishing where you can catch a bass. Oh, and I did not play that Fell Xenologue DLC. Everyone I talked to, even people who liked everything about Engage, said it was pretty trash. Twitter will tell you that this game's story is bad, and this game's story is good. This is reason number 776 why you should stop using Twitter. Okay, real talk. The first games I played in 2023 were Pokemon Violet, which was terrible, and Fire Emblem Engage, which was half great, half horrendous. But they had me feeling like, if this is what people like in video games, then maybe I don't actually like video games anymore. But then I realized, no, that's stupid. And for the rest of the year I decided, I'm only playing good games. So next, I finally finished the other routes of Nier. Honorable mention, Nier Automata. Mild spoilers for Nier Automata. This game is about a war between androids versus machines. Androids versus machines? Aren't those basically the same thing? Yeah, I mean, aren't our wars humans versus humans? Shows how they're kind of stupid, huh? The story is about, you know, grief and philosophy. You know, real uppity stuff. If you're a little punk ass who likes to get fucked up by game stories, this game will fuck you up. But like, in a good way. Okay, so first is Route 8, where you play as 2B in what is basically desaturated Bayonetta gameplay. And your boy toy 9S is there too. That's what I played the previous year, and I thought it was pretty good. Then you play Route B, which is the same story section as Route A, but this time you play as 9S. But he's not really a combat robot, so instead of hack and slash gameplay, you do hack and slash gameplay. And by that I mean your slashing does no damage, so you mostly do hacking, which is a mini bullet hell section, just like real life hacking. And the hacking, it's not bad, but I do prefer the slashing. This game is constantly switching up its gameplay genre. Sometimes it's Bayonetta, sometimes it's a bullet hell, sometimes it's chilling out talking, sometimes it's a top-down shooter, sometimes it's a 2D side-scrolling boss fight, and sometimes you're crying. Anyways, the cool thing about this route is you get to see what happens with 9S in the section where him and 2B were separated. After finishing that route, you continue the story playing as 9S, but also this new lady robot, A2. What's her deal? Well, she has this ability called B mode. What does B mode do? You activate it and you fucking die. Great job, A2. At the end of that story, you make a final decision to get ending C, and you're like, wait a minute, that ending sucked. So then you reload your save right before the final boss, choose the other option, and get ending D, and you're like, wait a minute, that ending also sucked. So you go into the credits and blow up everyone responsible for these shitty endings. And that's where the true final boss of Nier appears. Square Enix. Their corporate greed and NFT power and generative AI enhancements are too much. You defeat them once, and then they keep coming back with their power of releasing flop after flop after flop. So you team up with all the other players of Nier from around the world who played these shitty endings, and you win and you cry. Cry! Best credits sequence of any game ever made. And then the game deletes your save file. Fuck you, Nier. Also, the graphics and the gameplay and the music are really good too. It's a PlayStation 4 game, but the Switch port runs great, which is how I played it. And if you're horny, you can blow up 2B's skirt and stare at a great white butt the whole time. It's only an honorable mention this year because I already talked about it the previous year, but it could be number 1 of any year. Number 10, Kuukiyomi, Consider It 3. I love these games. They're like an hour-long WarioWare type game, where you're put in a quick situation and in a few seconds, you have to try to be as considerate as possible. They're very fun, very funny, and very Japanese. Unlike the previous two Considerates, where it's a random collection of wacky situations, this one was a little bit more narrative focused, centering on a young girl growing up, getting a job, getting a boyfriend, and starting a family, while also getting into as many wacky hijinks as possible. This one feels much more heartfelt than the previous two Considerates. And after you finish the game being considerate and nice and cooperative, as always, you unlock Inconsiderate mode, where you try to be as much of a chaotic dickbag as possible. It's hilarious. For a rating, I give it an alien reading a book on how to act like a normal human. Number 9, F-Zero 99. I don't give a shit if you don't give a fuck about F-Zero. I need all of y'all with Switch Online to do me a personal favor and download this game and play it once. You wanna know why? Because this is clearly a game where Nintendo is testing the waters to see if there's any demand for a new F-Zero game. It's been around 20 years since the last F-Zero game. People don't want a new F-Zero game because of the funny Smash Bros guy. People want a new F-Zero game because F-Zero GX is still the greatest racing game of all time. The game itself is tricky dicky, just the way F-Zero should be, a frantic death game. I've never won. I've never even finished a Grand Prix. It's awesome. I feel like this game is probably mostly dead now, but go try it anyways. I think it'll put you against computers. For a rating, I give it a competing in Monster Jam, but you're driving a Maserati. Number 8, Resident Evil 4 got a slick new paint job this year, but I ain't in a rush to play it. I've already played the original. It's one of the greatest games of all time. I played it on the GameCube, or maybe it was on the Wii, or maybe I played it on the Switch. I have it right there. Surely I must have played it. Wait a minute. Oh no! Oh hey, I'm getting a call from Capcom. What do you mean I'm playing Resident Evil? No, wait, I can explain! Alright, so I finally played the original Resident Evil 4, considered one of the greatest games of all time. And all I have to say is, these controls fucking suck. Holy shit, they are so bad. On one hand, I get it. Most video games are a power fantasy. You're a jack dude flawlessly dispatching fools by just pressing the X button. However, Resident Evil is survival horror. Even regular enemies are supposed to pose a considerable threat. But I can't help but feel like there's a better way to mechanically express that sense of tension, rather than making simple actions feel extremely inconsistent. Leon has supposedly gone through like elite Secret Service training at this point in his career, and yet he struggles to do simple stuff like turn around. Come on, Leon! The game thrusts you into this intense village infiltration section right at the start, which is a cool scene, but Leon Kennedy is so bad at everything. He gonna end up like his great uncle John F. Otherwise, after you get used to the controls, the rest of the game is pretty good. For a rating, I give it a bingo. Number 7. Driving in real life sucks big balls, bro. Everybody fucking sucks at operating motor vehicles. Everyone has main character syndrome, so maniacs are trying to run each other off the road with their SUVs and Super Duties. It's terrible. However, driving in a video game, hell yeah! Vroom vroom! If you like cars, then Gran Turismo 7 is the game for you. GT7 is not a game where I would wake up and think, you know what I'm gonna do today? Play Gran Turismo. But when I need to take like a half-hour break from working on some of these stupid-ass videos, I'd be like, yeah, I can do a few races. Vroom vroom! And I only mean offline races against computers. I'm a very casual professional race car driver. I win these races by driving the better car, usually the Nissan GTR, one of the greatest cars. If you love cars, this is the game for you. My driving strategy was to put a turbocharger in every one of my cars, drive pretty okay on the turns, then floor it on straightaways. I'm basically Season 1 Case K from Initial D. But then in the second half half of the game, it's all like, no, your car can only be so good. It can't be too good, which means you're gonna have to learn to use the brakes sometimes. Luckily, the game tells you exactly when to brake. The assist features in this game do a lot to help lower the barrier of entry for this realistic driving simulator. I like how the safe driving bonus at the end of the race incentivizes you to drive like a normal human being would, without punishing you too much if you mess up and lose it. But if you do mess up once, it's very much an in for a penny, in for a pound situation, so I'll drive like a maniac for the rest of the race to catch up. And just like with a lot of racing games, there's a problem with the conveyance of speed. You'll be going 150, but it feels more like 80. In your driving POV, it says 300 miles per hour, but it feels like you're maybe going 100, but not in the replay mode. Obviously, these cars are designed to go these speeds, and you don't want the car violently shaking at high speeds like my 1999 Mazda Protege would, but there's gotta be some better way for the player to really feel how fast they're going. Now, the cars in this game look amazing. There's plenty of car facts, histories of different cars. This is clearly a game for car aficionados. If you want to fuck a car, this is the game for you. But while the cars themselves look great and the roads look great, all the surrounding areas don't. Definitely not what you'd expect from a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 game. And it's not a big deal, but it's very funny when you're in the replay mode and it pans over to a human on the side looking like a PS2 character. Also, the music is not as good as I remember Gran Turismo music being. Not enough Japanese fusion and too much Idris Elba rapping. The Music Rally arcade mode was pretty fun though. I like the classical music medleys. Oh, and also, the game has car gacha and is always reminding you to spend more real life money on in-game money on top of the money you already spent on the game? For a rating, I give it a getting married to a car. Number 6, Spiritfarer, another indie game. This is a cool game where you sail a boat and ferry ghosts to the afterlife. I started playing Spiritfarer because a woman I was dating recommended it to me, and then that woman very suddenly ghosted me, so I stopped playing Spiritfarer. Fuck you, Spiritfarer, you're off the list! Number 6 is actually Inside, another indie game. This is like a spooky puzzle platformer with some of the greatest sound design and atmosphere I've seen in any video game I've played. I don't know what else to say about it. It's like $3 and 4 hours long. Go play it. For a rating, I give it a waking up in the middle of the night and seeing the Hat Man. Number 5, the Foam Stars Open Beta Party. Hell yeah. I am the biggest fan of Foam Stars. Ironically, I mostly just want free stuff from Foam Stars when the game launches, so I need y'all to like my tweets when I enthusiastically reply to them. I am determined to become the #1 Foam Star. Hold it! They use generative AI for a little bit of the art in the game? They're not beating the Splatoon clone allegations, I'm afraid. Jail! Okay, so number 5 is actually the Live Alive remake. I remember hearing about the original game years ago, and I'm glad they finally brought it back. So in this game, you got 7 different characters with their own separate mini-story, and each one plays out like a different movie genre. The first one I played was Sundown, which plays out like an old Western movie. And right at the start, the bad cowboy is like, here's some milk, you punk bitch. And then your cowboy is like, tastes like your mother's titties. Yeah, I'm thinking 5 stars. This is a good one chapter before night type of game, since each story ranges from like half an hour to 2 hours long, and there's so much mechanical variety between each one. There's one story that's just a martial arts tournament boss rush where you're playing as a blue mage. There's one silly story where cavemen and legally distinct, not Donkey Kong, only communicate via emojis, and that one has the most strategic battles. There's one that's basically a Chinese martial arts movie. There's one where there's almost no combat and instead you're a robot on a spaceship playing Among Us. An imposter! As much as I generally don't like adaptations, I think this game would adapt well to an anthology anime. While each story's tone and vibe vary wildly between each other, some are more lighthearted while others are more serious, but every single story has at least one moment. They literally play a song that's called Cry Alive. Cry! Look at this guy. It's a spherical robot named Cube, and no robo design has ever gone harder than this. Put him in Smash Brothers, put him in Nier, put him in Wall
finally.
And remember when I said there were 7 stories? Well, actually there's 9. After you finish all 7, you unlock the 8th character. What's his deal? Well, you gotta play the game to find out. And after playing through his chapter, you unlock the final chapter that plays like a pretty standard JRPG, where all the characters get sucked into the same time period, you recruit everyone, maybe get their ultimate weapon, then you fight the final boss. Here's my ranking of each story. I'm sure it's a very unpopular opinion, but my favorite chapters were the ones where there's very little combat and instead focus more on the story. Because this battle system, is not bad. It's this weird grid-based system, and I mean look, it's a SNES era JRPG, it's pretty short, maybe like 20 hours total, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. The reorchestrated soundtrack is copyright claimingly amazing. I love how each story has its own unique battle theme, and the shared final boss theme of each story is a song called Megalomania. Remember, this game came out in 1994, and it's got them gorgeous HD 2D graphics, like Octopath, nice and moist, just how I like it. Square Enix needs to quit fucking around and remake Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger in this art style. Live Alive rating out of a possible Black Mirror, I give it a goosebumps. Number 4, Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy is that series where supermodels use magic rocks to save the world, and this one was mildly controversial. That's never happened before with a Final Fantasy game.
The battle system isn't turn-based.
The story is crap and overly serious.
This game isn't even an RPG.
This game isn't even a Final Fantasy game. Well, there's one key detail about the game players may have missed. If you look closely at the title screen, you'll see that it says Final Fantasy in big letters. Final Fantasy has always innovated its mechanics. It's always trying something new. That's the best part about it. Sure, this one's not turn-based combat, but in the past 6 FF games across 20 years, only one of them was turn-based? So what are we talking about here? Even the remake of 7, which originally was turn-based, is not turn-based. So what are we even doing here? Unlike other Final Fantasies, this one is much more of a Clive action game. They got a Devil May Cry guy to design the combat, and the combat in this game is really fun. You ain't gonna be spending a lot of time worrying about your equipment and different builds. You're gonna pick which moves you want and go. The next sword you get is always better than the previous one. You ain't gotta worry about elemental weaknesses. You'll be using your flame attacks against the liquid flame boss from Final Fantasy V, doing the same amount of damage as always. You have a revolving door of other party members. It really doesn't matter who's there at any given time. You don't give them equipment, you don't give them commands, they just go. They're good at helping you fight groups of little enemies while you deal with a big dude, but other than that, they're just kind of there. It's a very lean RPG. No, not like that. Areas are much more trimmed down and linear without any fluff. Instead, the budget more went into the big set-piece boss fights. You transform into a big guy and fight another big guy. It kinda reminded me of those kaiju battle sections in Bayonetta 3, except here they're actually fun. The Titan fight and the Bahamut fight are 2 of the best spectacle boss fights I've played in any video game in my life ever. But the stuff in between, it's not bad, but it's fine. It's a game of high highs and mediocre lows. The rest of the gameplay outside of combat is very much an RPG, and the rest of the story is extremely Final Fantasy. There are definitely parts where I'm like, yeah, I can tell the MMO team worked on this. There's a lot of fetch quests, side quests, fetch quests, main story quests, and a whole lot of unique monsters to fight. I think it would have been better if these were more linked together. Given 16's more mature tone and Game of Thronesian setting and streamlined design, this strikes me as much more of a busy adult game, which I understand may not be everyone's jam, but I really don't think it's overly serious when you've got characters like Sid and Gav where everything they say is a joke. This game has some of the best English voice acting, period. But one thing I know is everyone's jam is the main character, Clive. Top 3 Final Fantasy protagonist right here. You wanna be a real man? Don't listen to any fucking Manosphere podcast bullshit. Instead, play this game and be more like Clive.
You're him. I'll be giving up for. I say whatever I want. I do whatever I want.
This game mishandles diversity and women. My fast twitch muscles were tingling when I heard that in this multi-continent spanning epic, the most melanated character is maybe Vivian over here. But then you actually play the game and some of the characters are like, know your place, you dirty slave. And I'm like, you know, maybe they made the correct decision here. And the game features women in a variety of roles in various matriarchal societies. Some of those roles are a brothel owner, many prostitutes, a woman who sleeps their way to the top, actually 2 of them. However, they are given a lot of agency in the plot, both as allies and antagonists, which is more than you can say from a lot of stories. And god damn it, as a feminist, I say, women can be hoes if they so choose! I do wish Jill was utilized more. Don't get me wrong, I like Jill. What's there is great. But after your dog, she's the most common party member. And she's very powerful in the story, but then she gets kidnapped and saved by you like at least 3 times? And when she is there, it's easy to forget that she is there. Clive will be like, "We have to liberate this place." And Jill will be like, "I agree." Good one, Jill. Really great dialogue. You added so much. Look, this game doesn't always stick the landing, but I thought it was pretty dang good. I mean, accessibility options being tied to equipment slots is the dumbest fucking design decision ever, but I wasn't even planning on playing the full game, but ended up going through the whole game because it was a lot of fun and there's a cute doggy. For me, the story got good as soon as you meet Sid, and the combat got really good after you start slurping up other iconic abilities and when you press L3 and R3 to accept the truth. Just like some of y'all need to accept the truth that at least this game is better than Final Fantasy 15. Oh my god. Oh, and it's a Final Fantasy game, so you already know the soundtrack is triple ballin'. Overall, Final Fantasy 16 is a very high quality game with very obvious flaws, also known as a video game. Number 3, Spider-Man Trilogy. These 3 Spider-Man games are just Batman Arkham games. The gameplay is just Arkham. The combat is just Arkham. The stealth is just Arkham. The open world traversal is just Arkham. But you see, Batman Arkham City is one of the greatest superhero games of all time. So saying that these games are like Arkham is some of the highest praise I can give. And I'm cheating and lumping all 3 Insomniac PlayStation Spider-Man games into one entry. Spider-Man 2 came with the PS5, and the remastered version of Spider-Man 1 came with Deluxe Miles Morales. So I played all 3 in a month in a crazy ass order, hopping between all of them. Here's a Gantt chart showing the order I played them in. Across these 3 games, you use your Spider-Man abilities to go on Spider-Man adventures throughout New York City, meeting various Spider-Man characters and fighting Spider-Man bad guys. I guess you could say, really makes you feel like Spider-Man. But it does make you feel like Spider-Man. How else am I supposed to phrase that? In Spider-Man 1, it's a very traditional Spider-Man storyline. Peter Parker is spread thin across all his different obligations, in the same way the player is constantly distracted by all these open world objectives cropping up. And you get the best of both worlds. You have all the benefits of playing as an experienced Spider-Man right out of the start, all sorts of cool powers and villains, but you also get a stealth origin story for the other Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Then in Miles Morales, focusing on Harlem, you got him coming into his own style of Spider-Man, with his own electricity powers and camouflage. Then in the 3rd Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2, you got the Spider Bros, 2 Spider-Man. I would never get tired of showing up to a crime scene and the other Spider-Man is already there, so you do cool team-up attacks. You tackle both friendly neighborhood conflicts as well as world-ending catastrophes. Where are the Avengers? Speaking of, the game covers the symbiote arc. When you first get the suit, the fucking PS5 controller is howling like while Peter goes sicko mode. And as time goes on, Peter gradually dives deeper and deeper into the depths of depravity. He'll seem pretty normal, like he's still got a hold on things, and then he'll be fighting the Lizard, who Peter is trying to help, but then says some shit like, "No wonder your family left you." Whoa, Peter, too far! And it takes the bond of the Spider Bros to help Peter realize that he don't need that suit. All he needs is the balance that comes from being able to rely on those around him. These games went from almost a Black Spider-Man to 1 Black Spider-Man to 2 Black Spider-Man, and then only the Black Spider-Man for now, which made some people who are afraid of cuck fantasies lose their mind. I don't know, the internet's a weird place. Anyways, the environment design is amazing. It displays a love for New York City, both the positive and negative aspects. Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 showcase a lot of African American culture that you don't often see in too many big budget games like this. You're swinging around town to hip hop inspired beats. They've got a Harlem jazz music museum, which I thought was really cool. Miles' swing animations are fly as hell. Even his walk animation, I'm like, he walked like me. I guess you could say he has the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. Why is that line a meme? It's true! Every black person I talk to agrees! But there are also some non-Spider-Man moments. I've heard 5-6 years of complaints about the MJ stealth missions, and now that I've played them for myself, I see what's going on here. You guys fucking suck at the game. These missions are very easy and like 5 minutes long. They're really there to provide extra backstory and good character moments as opposed to the gameplay acceleration. Part of what makes Spider-Man so timeless is his supporting cast, and these games do a great job of establishing reliable heroes, both with and without the use of spider powers. All 3 Spider-Man games are a story of good people in a harsh world, but who genuinely want to do good. And not to say that this game is exempt from criticism. Miles, take that trash ass suit off, bro. Man, what the hell? But there are so many bad takes around Spider-Man 2, from people who just wanted to play Man 2 to the game being called woke propaganda? Alright, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. But if you want to see 2 good videos about it, I recommend these ones by Johnny Two Cellos and Alex Webb. Spider-Man 2 will probably be the only game I ever platinumed, because it wasn't even that hard to do, but it's the first game I've played that truly harnesses the power of the PlayStation 5, with the fastest fast travel ever, and instantaneous portal hopping, and the big set-piece boss fights in Spider-Man 2 are incredible. I don't know if they're $300 million incredible, but they are really good. The 3 Spider-Mans are very high quality game with very obvious flaws, also known as a video game. Number 2, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Ha! I lied. Zelda's only number 2 this year. Never trust online content creator. Look, I already made an hour-long review of this game that, you know, I thought it was a pretty good video, and I keep changing the title and thumbnail of it. And my review was so long because it's the game I had the most fun with. Sometime within the next 5 years, in true Zelda fashion, the internet is going to turn on this game, ignoring the triumphs and freedom of gameplay, and instead focusing on the obvious shortcomings and focusing on what's not in the game instead of what is in the game. I'm not sure if that's the best way to critique a game, and I'm not saying the game is exempt from criticism. It's full of that Demon King? Secret Stone? Bullshit. But what I will say is, this is the only game on this list where you can build a car or a plane or whatever you want, whenever you want, and everything just works. And you know what? I think that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, I'm playing the game and I'm having a good time. It's almost as if this is a very high quality game with very obvious flaws, also known as a video game. So if not Zelda, then what game was my number 1 this year? Well, it was the game I played, along with Nier, that renewed my sense of passion for the medium, and reminded me, video games are good actually. Number 1, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Everyone I know who played this game said the game is real good, but would never say anything about it. I didn't even know what genre it is when I bought it. Right at the start of the game, you start playing as a high school girl who immediately lifts up her skirt to activate a giant mecha, and then takes off the rest of her clothes to pilot it. And now I realize why no one told me any details on it. You're gonna get put on a list for playing it.
What the? Where did my clothes go?
Okay, but in all seriousness, I'm gonna try to describe the game without spoiling too much of the experience. 1/3 of the game is RTS giant robot battles, and they're fine, I liked them. Each pilot has different abilities, and you're incentivized to mix up your team with each stage. And 2/3 of the game, where the real hook of the game is the story where you walk around and talk to people, go down different dialogue trees. It's an Atlas game. The story is a science fiction time travel story, taking place across 5 different time periods, but primarily 1985 Japan. And there are 13 interweaving stories starring 13 playable characters. It may sound like a lot to keep track of, but all the characters appear in each other's stories, and you don't start the game with everyone available, you gradually unlock the stories. So by the time you unlock another story, that character will have already shown up a bunch of times, so you already know what their deal is when their POVs start. Or at least you think you do, and that's where the real hook is, because this game has some wild ass unraveling story with so many turns out moments that repeatedly recontextualizes every single previous plot point and the entire premise of the story. What? 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 The most fun part for me was piecing it all together, making this intricate mental map in my head, since some stories take place before or after or during other ones. But then I realized you can just go into the mystery files and the game just tells you the order of everything. Regardless, the story is presented really well, fully voiced by the common roster of English JRPG voice actors, y'all know the ones. It's the type of story that can only be functionally told via a video game. You look at other video games with highly praised stories, but many of them are trying to ape other media. This is basically a movie broken up with gameplay. This is basically a TV show broken up with gameplay. This is basically an anime broken up with gameplay. And I'm not saying those are bad or wrong. I just hold video game narratives in a higher regard when they're able to use the medium in video games in a way more exclusive to said medium. Games like 13 Sentinels with the interlocking stories, games like Nier with its perspective switching and multiple endings, games like Undertale with its player choice. These are the types of narratives I like to see more of in games. And you can finish the game in a week or two, so go play it! What are you waiting for? For a rating, I give it a life comes at you fast, out of a possible 10-it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. If you liked this video, then you may also enjoy my video on dogs and games. I thought it was pretty good. Let me know what your favorite games for 2023 are, and today's comment code word is PLAY F099. Comment PLAY F099 if you made it all the way to the end, and that's it, video's over.